And welcome to the bright side. I am Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for joining us. 844-236-6010 is our number, and we have lines open for you, 844-236-6010. Love to hear from you about how you're dealing, how you're coping. If you have questions about how the body works, of course, we're always here to help. If you have questions about nutritional supplementation, if you have questions about a health challenge you or a loved one may be dealing with, or if you just want to contribute to the conversation, 844-236-6010 is our number on the bright side. If you want to purchase longevity products, call 866-735-2470, 866-735-2470, and ask about joining the Bright Side Ben team. Now is the ideal time, the perfect time. The supplement business is blowing up, people. This is the ideal time. You're missing the boat. You're missing the boat if you don't jump on right now and sign up to join the Bright Side Ben team for a one-time $30 fee. It'll cost you $30. Just that alone, you'll make that back alone just in tax savings when you write off your home office. For a $30 fee, you can sign up. You can get your products at the wholesale price. You can sell products. Call 866-735-2470. Get your share of the hundreds of billions of dollars worth of supplements that are going to be being bought this year or over the coming years, we'll say. I don't know, probably close to $1 billion this year in supplements, if I had to guess. And it is a guess. All right, 866-735-2470, or you can head to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. So much I want to talk about today. Not even sure where to begin. By the way, we have Dr. John Huber, who's the chairman for Mainstream Mental Health, a nonprofit organization that talks about bringing change to people who are dealing with mental health issues. And he's going to talk about the mental health aspects of what we're going through here today. And I've said this so many times. This is a mental problem. We have a mental problem. We don't have a physical problem. We have a mental problem. We don't understand science. We don't understand data. We don't understand risk. We believe what we're told. Present company excluded here, of course. We don't ask questions. This is a mental health issue as much as it is a physical issue, more than it's a physical issue. And that means not only are we being affected mentally, but it means we can leverage the mental aspects to thrive. But we got to understand the basics of how our brains work and how our minds work. Human beings are not wired to understand risk. That's why they do statistical modeling, so they can quantify risk. We don't understand risk, and don't pay attention to statistical modeling. That's one of the great questions to ask about statistical modeling. Does anybody ever ask, oh my God, 2 million people, oh my God, 0.3%, oh my God, 5% of people are going to die, all these people are going to get sick. That's all statistical modeling, people. That's not fact. That's some program that somebody put in, and then they shoved it with data, and they got data back out. And depending on what you put in is what you're going to get out. They call that garbage in, garbage out. GIGO in the computer business. It's GIGO, statistical modeling. Now, I'll tell you what is true here. What is true, we're going to create dramatic changes in our culture and our society. That's what's true. This is going to lock in, as if it wasn't already locked in, this is going to lock in the medical model as a permanent fixture in every human being's life. They're already talking about having a certificate of immunization for vaccination. Oh, my goodness. Now, I'm not sitting here, this isn't supposed to be, I know there's a lot of negativity around this thing. It's not negative. You just got to know what you're dealing with. You don't believe what you're told. That's rule number one as a scientist. You don't believe what you're told. And you always want to be questioning. Always be questioning. You know what makes a genius? A genius is somebody who looks at the same thing that everybody else looks at and sees something different. Questioning makes you it leads to being a genius. I'm going to say it makes you. It leads to genius. You can't be a genius if you don't question how things are done. That's how I came out with my skincare products. I was questioning how things are done. Is this the best way to do skincare? I was in the pharmacy. I was dealing with people who had wounds, so I had to figure out a way. I'm saying, is this the best way to do it, really? So I came up with a way. You got to ask questions. Is this true? How do I know it's true? Was I told it was true? Does it comport or does it match up with what I feel and what I think and what I see and my own direct experience? Question, question, question. I'm not saying I know the answers to any of this stuff, by the way, but I do know that you've got to question. If you're lionizing the medical model and doing what you're told, your strings are being pulled. If you're screaming about a vaccine, we need a vaccine, we must have a vaccine. This is what people are saying now. We must have a vaccine. Yesterday I was talking about how I was reading letters. I read a couple letters from people who said, we need martial law. We need more enforcement. Yes, this is what people are saying. We need a vaccine. We need drugs. We need a medical model because there's this virus that's going to get us, invisible virus that's going to get us. Now, I'm not saying I don't know. I'm not saying I have the answers. I don't know. Maybe there is a virus, but just ask the question. You got to ask questions. You always got to be a questioner. What if? What if our thoughts weren't right? There's a lady named Byron Katie. If you haven't heard her, she uses questioning to eliminate suffering. So much of our suffering is based on us believing our own BS. We don't question our own thoughts. Suffering is literally, that's what suffering is believing your thoughts. Every suffering you ever had was in your thoughts. Pain is in the body, suffering is in the thoughts. And I'm talking about even grief of a loss of a loved one, as horrible as that is, it's in thought. It's in thought. Now, I suppose it could be possibly in the body after it's in thought. But for the most part, pain is in the body, suffering is in thought. Suffering is in the mind. I know this gal this was terrible. Her dog, beautiful little dog, but crazy dog. It's not little. It's a pit bull, actually. It's not huge, but it's really muscular. And anyway, the dog, sweetest dog, but just a little bit aggressive. And it's I felt so bad because she had to give the dog away. The dog almost bit somebody, long story short, and she had to give the dog away. It was the saddest thing. But then I started thinking, the sadness and the suffering, it's not physical. It's mental. It's whatever it is. Fear is the same way. Fear is physical, but being scared, that's if you're scared in a way that's not connected immediately to your survival, that's mental. And we have power over that. And I know we're talking here, this is a nutrition program. And by the way, if you're nutritionally weak and you're eating a lot of sugar and not taking care of your body and not breathing and not, focusing on your physical health, you're more likely to catastrophize. You're more likely to not be able to handle stresses. You're more likely to be tipped over the edge when something, tipped over on your side when something comes into your environment, if you are not taking care of yourself physically. So it's always mental, spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, SMEP, in that order. So it doesn't mean you can handle everything mentally. But of course, if you do handle things mentally, you're more likely to supplement and eat correctly and exercise and breathe and do all the things we talk about in terms of strengthening ourselves. That's what this should be about. This should be about learning to strengthen ourselves, to become independent, to become resourceful, and to take care of our own health business and our own business in general. All right, I'm Pharmacist Ben. 844-236-6010 is our number. Dr. Ken Huber coming up at the bottom of the hour, and we'll take your calls next segment. Okay, we're back on the bright side. I am Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for joining us. Got Dr. John Huber coming up at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Huber is a clinical forensic psychologist and the chairman for Mainstream Mental Health. And he's also the host of Mainstream Mental Health Radio, heard nationwide, and it's a show that talks to the top mental health professionals in the culture. And this is indeed a perfect time to talk about mental health because we're dealing with a mind virus, a mental health virus. 844-236-6010, by the way, is our number. Real quickly, we talked yesterday to Dr. Tyler Williams, about gum disease, and kind of was trying to get him to get us to talk about connective tissue. He wasn't really interested in talking about that too much, but that's the whole thing about gum disease. It is a connective tissue problem, and the deterioration of connective tissue is guaranteed and it's generic, because that's what aging is all about. If you're going to age, your connective tissue is going to deteriorate. So the trick to anti-aging is turning on connective tissue, always, in every fashion you can think of. If you want to anti-age, you want to just focus on the connective tissue. That's what my Truth Treatment products are all about, by the way, and that's why they always work, is because I'm always focusing on connective tissue. Topical strategies, and some nutritional, but basically speaking, pretty much everything you hate about aging is connective tissue related. And also because connective tissue feeds everything else. Everything else is connective tissue related because disease is not just structural, it's also metabolic, and connective tissue does the feeding. It feeds oxygen, it feeds water, it feeds electricity ultimately. It feeds nutrients, macro and micronutrients. Everything happens because of the connective tissue, including osteoporosis. And by the way, osteoporosis affects one out of 2 women. Check this out. 1 out of 2 women over the age of 50. 50. That's young. 1 or 2 women over the age of 50 will break a bone because of osteoporosis. And osteoporosis is not a disease. There's no disease called osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is deterioration, degeneration, the breakdown of a part of the body, of a functional part of the body, the connective tissue. That's why they can't treat osteoporosis with a drug. Yes, that's true. Boniva, it does not treat osteoporosis. It kills the cells that break down the bone. That's not a treatment for the disease, for the condition. It's not a disease. It's a condition. It's deterioration. And if you're out there taking calcium, by the way, and you're not processing your fats, you're wasting your time. Well, you're not. But you could be making matters worse. You know, every once in a while they'll do a study and they'll say, "Oh, calcium supplements can cause heart disease. Calcium supplements are really bad for you." Well, guess what? It's not the calcium, it's the malabsorption of the calcium. You're taking the wrong kind of calcium and you're not absorbing it. Why? Because your gallbladder's been taken out. You need a gallbladder to absorb calcium. Or because your bile is sludgy. You need bile to absorb calcium. Anybody ever tell you that? Bile and the gallbladder and the fatty system are very important for helping the body process calcium. And for that matter, magnesium and selenium and zinc and probably other minerals. I've been doing my moments of truth on the distinction between the fat system and the water system. If you guys have been listening to this program, you know, talk about that all the time. That's drilled into your head in pharmacy school, hydrophilic versus lipophilic. That's one of the things about our Truth Skin House products. That's one of the little tricks I used when I formulated my Truth treatments in the pharmacy. Is I went lipophilic because the skin is lipophilic, and if I didn't know the distinction between the two, which most people don't, I wouldn't have been able to do it. If you don't know the distinction between hydrophilic, water-loving, and lipophilic, fat-loving, you're not going to be able to take your supplements as effectively. You're not going to be able to eat your food as effectively. You always want to mix oil with your veggies, or butter, I should say. People are freaked out about oil, whatever. Fat with your veggies. That whole oil thing is, you know, I got my own opinion on that. Oil is probably something you want to be careful of, for sure, but you do need oil. And if it's used medicinally, like medicine, which it should be, it could be very powerful stuff. Anyway, 844-236-6010. Let's go to Truth Raider, who we have not talked to in a while, except I've talked to you, Truth Raider. What's going on, Truth Raider? How you doing? What do you got for us?
Well, today, and I hope you're doing very, very well today. 6 weeks ago, I came down with something very, very quickly, but I hit the beyond penitentiary pretty quick to kind of level it off. You know, as I say, level the curve. It was a little bit of a headache that went away. And
ETT.
Yeah, the strange headache I had in the head, and then after that, I woke up with sore tonsils. My left tonsil was swollen, my right tonsil.
Well, I would say that's the famous BTT sore tonsil reaction that everybody gets.
Okay.
No, it's Truth Raider. What, are you trying to make a correlation between BTT and your sore tonsils? Please. No, can't help. Truth Raider.
Yeah.
Negative.
Well, the tonsils are one of the places where
toxicity.
You know,
that's a good point. Yeah, no, that's a good point. But you're not getting that much. I mean, you're not going to be toxing out your tonsils, your lymphatic. The tonsils are part of the lymph. Tonsils are really neat.
Yeah.
They're a very, very interesting structure. It's like a ring around your throat, or a ring in the back of your throat that is there like a guard, like a security system. And when people have inflamed tonsils, i.e. tonsillitis, they're toxic. Hello. This is another classic example of the inanity, the vapidity, the non-scientific or non-biologically savvy perspective of the medical model. Oh, your tonsils are inflamed? Let's take them out. Not let's stop drinking the milk, the cow's milk. Let's change our diet. Let's do some things so our lymph doesn't, have to be toxed out. We'll take the thing out. I'm telling you, this medical perspective that we have, and I'm not blaming doctors because I like doctors for the most part. They're good people for the most part. There's bad ones everywhere, just like there's bad plumbers and there's bad electricians and there's doctors who don't know what they're doing, just like there's electricians and plumbers who don't know what they're doing. But generally speaking, they're good people. They want to help people. I'm not ripping on doctors. But this model, this paradigm is not only hideous, it's from a time gone by. It's a anachronism. It's like bleeding. This idea of drugging us to get better, this idea of removing our bodies to make us, parts of our bodies to make us better, is so flawed and so anti-human being, and it is such a failure. Listen, folks, let's be clear here. The healthcare system is a failure. It's an F minus. If I was grading it, I would send it back a grade. I would send it back multiple grades. It's a disaster on every level. It's costing almost 50% of our gross national product. It will be costing almost 50% of our gross. It keeps going up every year. Does anybody notice? And we don't get better. Please, this lionization, this deifying of this model it's time to change. It's been time to change for a long time. Maybe in a weird way, people will wake up. I don't know if that's going to happen because I still hear people screaming about, we need a vaccine. We must have a vaccine. Those drug companies better get going on a vaccine. All right, Truth Raider, what else? Anything else you want to say?
Yes, really quickly.
Yes.
I took the BTT a little bit better, but over the course of the next few weeks, I felt a little bit weak in my stomach a little bit, and, kind of a feeling of indigestion, kind of a heavy feel. But anyway, I think that's the reason why the whole system and the government is acting like they're doing and shutting everything down is because I think that we were sprayed aerosol out the world. I think I'm
kind of losing you. Got the music. Call back tomorrow. I'd like to know what you have to say, but we're out of time. Dr. John Huber coming up at the bottom of the hour. Thanks for listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back after this. All right, we are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks for being here. We have 866-735-2470 is the phone number for the Brightside Ben team. If you want to purchase longevity products, go to brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, or criticalhealthnews.com. We've got news stories and blog posts and a 24/7 archive page that you can head to if you want to search a particular topic. We've got 9 years of archives at brightsideben.com, brightsideben.com. I am very excited to have our guest on. Dr. John Huber is a clinical forensic psychologist, which is really cool because I've always thought you have to be a forensic psychologist if you want to have a good life. Life is about forensic psychology. He's also the chairman for Mainstream Mental Health, and he's the host of Mainstream Mental Health Radio. And I'm so glad you're on the program today, Dr. Huber, because we got a mental health crisis on our hands, seems to me. What do you think?
Well, I think you're right, Ben. I think that we have a crisis or we're on the verge of a crisis, one or the other.
And it's not, we're all focused on the physical aspects of this thing, but in reality, I think see what you think, the really big problem is how we're handling it mentally or how some of us are handling it or not handling it mentally.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping that, that some of this sheltering in place fixes some of our problems that we've started due to this isolation that we've created through social media. I think as people are spending time with each other, maybe we'll be learning something about what we missed through social media. But at the same time, man, this social isolation, this is a scary thing, especially people who are predisposed to depression, because you're telling them to do exactly what their depression wants them to do. And I'm afraid that's going to create a big problem for a lot of people, especially when, we lift the curtain and it's time to go back out and be human again. What's going to happen for us at that point?
So one of the biggest problems we have as a culture is the idea of the lonely crowd, the sense of isolation, and social media leads to that. So in a way, we're making the problem worse. We're all on social media much worse, much more. But on the other hand, is it somehow connecting us more effectively on social media? Zoom calls and Skype calls and all these meetings people are doing. Is there an aspect of connection to social media, or is it inherently dehumanizing to talk to somebody through the internet or through a computer monitor?
Well, I think if what's dehumanizing is this whole texting thing. Emojis just don't do the trick. And the next best thing to human contact is hearing the human voice. You get the inflections, you get the emotionality, you get the caring and the love. And those stimulate all those neurotransmitters that human physical contact, shaking a hand, hugging somebody does. And the text, we get a little bit of dopamine, and that's about it. And the rest of it is social malnutrition. It's like drinking a diet soda. You get a sweet taste in your mouth, your tummy gets full, but there's no nutrition.
What do you think the impact on older people in nursing homes or older people who are even worse living by themselves is going to be, this social isolation?
Well, with a lot of them, unfortunately, things haven't changed. But what I'm hoping is that family members are now reaching out to them and getting them on the phone and having conversations with them, Skyping with them and seeing their face. And I think they're going to start learning that there are ways they can actually connect without having to be physically, fit enough and not worry about their debility and things like that come along with old age. And they can start using the benefits, the good parts of social media, like the Skypes and the Zooms and like that.
So you're a forensic psychologist. Your background is clinical forensic psychology. So that means crime to me when I hear that. Right? So everybody knows what crime is. But in a way, when I think of forensics, I think of kind of deconstructing or troubleshooting or kind of breaking things down, going through clues to find out what caused something. So being a forensic psychologist has applications to just day-to-day life, doesn't it? I mean, the crime is our lives in a way.
Absolutely. And, forensic just basically means pertaining to the law. But when you add the psychology element to it, you've got two different schools of thought. One of them, for example, psychology, we're trying to help people. And when you get into the forensic arena, whether you're a police officer or an attorney or a judge, you're trying to find somebody guilty. So you've got two different masters, so to speak, and they're fighting and trying to get you to oppose that whole thing with the helping and then finding somebody guilty. And it becomes a puzzle. It becomes basically, like you said, fitting the pieces together and finding out what's there. And oftentimes, I have to go, and I do go by the numbers. I go by the data, and it's kind of weird because, as a psychologist, I want people to be happy and feel good, but when I get called, and I go in and I'm an expert witness and I'm sitting on the stand, I have to say what the numbers say, and it doesn't always make people happy. But in the long run, I think it's better for society when we have that like that. And we have to look at things. And for example, we shouldn't be violating some of these shelter-in-place rules because we have to worry about the debilitated, the people with compromised immune systems. For the majority of people, the coronavirus would have very little impact other than what the flu would do to you. But the problem is those ones who can't handle that physically, and that's part of what we're trying to figure out. What do we need? What is it going to take for us so when this comes back around the next coronavirus season, we don't have to shut the world down again?
So what about the idea that we create our own vectors? We create our own pathways for invaders, if you will, whether they're mind invaders or they're physical invaders. At what point does the individual have responsibility for becoming a vector for a nefarious invader like a virus?
Well, it goes down to personal responsibility, and it's something we've kind of lost a lot of, and we talk about how, community is community that, and we have to rely on this. No, you are responsible for your hygiene. I can't sit there and make you wash your hands appropriately after you walk out of the bathroom. I can stigmatize you. I can tell you, look at all the germs you can transmit and things like that. But still, we see people every day go in there, they go to the bathroom, and they just sprinkle water on their hands and dry them off with a paper towel. That's not good hygiene. And I think learning or relearning what hygiene is, especially because of this coronavirus, maybe will actually stem and start fighting a lot of other normal, everyday occurrences of the cold and the flu. And it's interesting that personal responsibility boils down to you have to do it. Nobody else can do it for you. So,
okay, so if you're a mental health professional, you're a forensic psychologist.
Yes.
So when I see the problem, I see a mental health problem here. How can we, and we got to take a break after this, but just when we come back from break, I want to know, how can we inoculate ourselves mentally to mitigate or eliminate even the ultimate health issue, which to me is fear? And cortisol and stress, put it all together, fear, stress, and cortisol. What can we do from a mental health perspective? And is it a matter of perspective? Can we change our perspective? And what are some strategies, some psychological strategies we can use to protect ourselves from what is every bit, in the way I look at, a mind virus as much as it is a physiologic virus? We're talking to Dr. John Huber, clinical forensic psychologist and host of Mainstream Mental Health Radio. You're listening to The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We'll be back after this. We are back on The Bright Side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. We're talking to Dr. John Huber, chairman for Mainstream Mental Health, and he's the host of Mainstream Mental Health Radio. This is kind of a cool network that you're on, Dr. Huber. I hadn't really heard about it before. Tell us a little bit about it, and then I want to ask you about specifically about what's going on.
Well, we're on the Mental Health News Radio Network, and it is basically a podcast network that is all about mental health, and we talk about everything from we have shows specifically on, how to deal with that narcissist in your family and things like that. Mainstream Mental Health Radio is my podcast, and we talk about anything with mental health. And our goal, we talk about how do we inoculate against all this. Well, my goal is to educate people about mental health and let them know that, psychology is involved in everything we do. Mm-hmm. And it's actually human to have depression. It's not a broken thing. It's a human thing. And we try to push that through.
That's so awesome what you just said, and I've always felt that as well. Psychology is one of the most important things you could study. I started studying psychology when I was 7 years old, in my own 7-year-old way, because I knew how important it was that there was this thing, this ontological category or subject that you could get into that would give you power, and that is the most powerful thing for us to understand. When you say psychology, everything is psychology.
Everything has to do with psychology, exactly, and that human connection is so important. And, it comes right back around to what we're talking about today, and how do we inoculate ourselves against it? Well, we know mental health is part of physical health and vice versa. Physical health is part of mental health. So we need a good nutrition. We need to be eating right. We need to be taking care of our body, exercising. And these are the things I talk with and I deal with my patients. We have to focus on doing the right things, and getting enough sleep. We know, for example, just getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep every night increases your body's ability to fight viruses by 20%. So if I told you I had a pill you could take and it would reduce your risk of getting a virus by 20%, people would pay a lot of money for that. Well, you've got one. Just get good sleep,
That's great.
It's as simple as that. And what does that mean? Well, don't drink alcohol before you go to sleep, because your body doesn't like to go into REM sleep when you have alcohol in your system. So, that's one of those common sense things that people don't even realize. They don't recognize that. Alcohol has a long-lasting impact on your mental health, not just for alcoholics and people with addiction, but for everybody.
I wonder if that could predispose you to depression, not lack of REM sleep, if you're one of those people that's drinking alcohol to go to...
Absolutely. And that's part of what the alcoholic has to fight. They drink because that first drink makes them feel normal, and then they chase that first drink the rest of the night. They finally go to sleep, and then their brain doesn't get the replenishment that it needs. It doesn't get the REM sleep. It doesn't get the good flood of neurochemicals and that we get, the neurotransmitters. And then you wake up in the morning, you feel just as depressed, if not worse, the next day. And then you're physically sick because of the alcohol and the dehydration associated with that. So what do? You start drinking again, and it becomes a vicious cycle. It really does.
Now, I'm a big believer in strategies and techniques and various things that you could do, especially when it comes to mental health. I've discovered there's a lot of things I could do mentally to make have a more fulfilling and satisfying and content life. Give us some ideas for people who are just dealing with fear, either fear of the virus or fear of economic issues, or just feeling fear in general or feeling depressed in general. Sometimes a lot of people are feeling things, they don't even know why, and it's just because all the noise that's out there all the chaos that's out there leads you into feeling these kinds of things. What are some good strategies, hands-on strategies people can employ?
Some of the hands-on strategies are exactly what you just implied right there, that chaos. How do we get order in that chaos? One of them is start giving ourselves a daily routine while we're stuck at home. And that may mean getting up at a certain time, making sure you eat at certain times of the day, going to bed at a certain time. I would recommend also that through that day you have time when you exercise. It can be light exercise. It doesn't have to be, let's go be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Go for a 30-minute walk through your neighborhood. Go out in the backyard and walk around in your backyard. Play catch with your dog. Play tag with your kids. Do those types of things that are, you don't always think of them as exercise because you're not going to the gym. But the reality of it is you go outside in the sun. The sunlight creates, with your skin, vitamin D. The waste products of vitamin D actually penetrate the blood-brain barrier and allow those neurotransmitters now to have building blocks so your brain can make more of them. So getting outside is very essential. That should be part of your routine, and you should stick to that routine as much as possible. I also recommend that the last 30 minutes of the day before you go to bed, you have a very specific routine. You do very specific things. 30 minutes before the bed, you pull out a book and you read for 10 minutes. Then you take a 5-minute shower, and then you meditate or pray. Whatever your routine is, you need to do that the last 30 minutes, whether you go to bed at 2 in the morning or 10 at night. The last 30 minutes should always be the same. That tells your body it's time to rest now. So when your brain is still going 1,000 miles an hour, your body goes ahead and starts turning things off when you do that routine. And that pulls your brain down with you. So routine is very important. And we are creatures of habit. That's something we like. So staying in that routine, and hopefully something that's real easy for you to transition back into work and school and like that. But even if it's not, you need to get into a routine and stick with it through this shelter-in-place time.
What do you know about red light and blue light and looking at your screens before you go to sleep?
Well, the blue light we know stimulates significantly your brain activity, and it tells you it's time to wake up. We have windows for a reason. People like to go on vacation and they pull those blackout curtains because they're not used to the time change and things like that, because that blue light coming through the window causes your brain, the reticular activating system in your brain, to turn on and start saying it's time to wake up now, it's time to wake up now. Well, your screens are full of blue light, so you do need to be cautious with that. Most of the newer phones that are out in the last 2 years or maybe even 3 years already have it set up in there where you can have it automatically shift so it turns off as much blue light as possible at a certain time during the day. Otherwise, there are free apps you can get online to put on your phone, to put on your computer screen. And really, you shouldn't be doing it the last hour before you go to bed anyhow. You need to turn that screen on. That's one of the reasons why I like that 30-minute pattern right before you go to bed. So you get away from that, and your brain can actually start calming down and not being stimulated by all this dopamine and the stimulus response mechanism from social media and stuff like that. You need to generate this feeling of peacefulness within your brain, not just where you're conscious, but the neurochemical process. And turning that blue light off is very important for that.
I love what you just said, generating, because can't we learn to generate feelings? Can't we learn to generate peace of mind? Can't we learn to generate feelings that deactivate fear? Can't we pick ourselves up by the bootstrap?
Absolutely, and I think Thomas Edison probably said it right. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. So,
I love it.
You start building that belief set, and your brain believes what you tell it. And it may take a while for it to sink in, but it will. They will. and that's why, when you have kids, it's really important. They don't hear what you say; they hear what you do. So, telling yourself is the next best thing, because you're changing your mindset. You can do that. You're the only one who can do that, and it happens by what shows you choose to watch, what music you choose to listen to, what type of friends you choose to be around. But that friend thing is important, because you have to be a friend to yourself. If you don't like yourself, it's going to be really hard any other way to make those connections, those good human connections, get that good grounding we need for good interpersonal connection. So start with yourself. Tell yourself to do the right thing.
Awesome advice. Awesome advice. Thank you so much, Doc. That was very, very inspiring. Appreciate it. And it's, say that again, it's the Mental Health News Radio Network, correct?
Mental Health News Radio Network, and my show, which you can find anywhere there's podcasts, is the Mainstream Mental Health Radio.
Thank you so much, Dr. John Huber, Chairman for Mainstream Mental Health and host of the Mainstream Mental Health Radio. Very, very inspiring. Appreciate it, Dr. Huber. Have a beautiful day and be safe and stay strong. Thank you, folks, for listening to The Bright Side. Check out our websites, brightsideben.com, pharmacistben.com, and criticalhealthnews.com for the longevity products, and truthtreatments.com for our Truth Skin Health products. I am Pharmacist Ben. Have a wonderful, beautiful, awesome, spectacular day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.